No Recipe by Edward S. Brown. So, this book is more of the spiritual side of cooking, basically. Bringing spirituality into not only cooking, but eating and taking cooking classes and tasting everything. He was a Zen master. He was more in the cooking aspect of it. So he has the history of doing what he's talking about, but the book itself is more personal, and so I don't like full on personal stories and all this, because I said it in a previous review that if it's okay to have the personal stories in there because you're trying to make a connection. But if it's going on for like 2.5 pages, trying to relate this story to one small blurb, I've lost interest. But he was able to have it where here is my point, here's the personal story, or he's bringing in information to that point or to that story where those personal stories aren't overwhelming me. Yeah, I was thumbing through for some of them to the next point, but it is an interesting read. Trying, like, if you're expecting like recipes from this guy, and like, here's how, as practicing Zen or like Buddhism or whatever, make this fruit tart, because he did mention a story of like this bachelor party that he was teaching, and they were making like fruit tarts and a few other things, and like, this is how a fruit tart will like spiritually awaken you or whatever. No, it's like dealing with like leftovers. Some people throw it out because it loses its essence after the next day, or like, you gotta feel yourself cooking, and you gotta savor those moments of eating that like steak or whatever. So if you are a person who feels that cooking is an important aspect of your life, it connects you to people, it connects you to whatever, this is a book that could be of some interest to you. And if you are a person who is looking into Zen practices, this could be a way to bring in those Zen practices into cooking, to eating, or just to any aspect of bringing those Zen practices, spirituality, into just eating, basically. And so there is information, like bringing certain studies and certain quotes and stuff into his work, along with the personal stories. So there is some facts scattered throughout the book to prove his point, to connect the dots of his stories. So, and throughout the book, it shows, like, for me, it's trying to show how food and like the act of cooking and eating can affect us, like, physically. Like, those, he did another story was like, he mentioned he knows, or like, there are a few people that who have like diabetes but don't take insulin, they know which foods to take, which not to take, how much they can have. They don't take the insulin, but because like they know how to what foods to have or not have. Like, I'm not saying that's for everybody who has diabetes, but he brings in that point. So I'm like, okay, I'm not somebody who understands that kind of like aspect, but I'm like, okay. And what food, cooking, and eating can do for us spiritually. So, the copy that I was given, it was, even though the text I was given was almost 200 pages, though I'm reading it on like an iPod screen. So if you were to read it on like an iPad or your other tablet, it would likely be a lot shorter. So, like, it's possible that some of the text that I was given has been cut out. But for me, I could, like, I was well, I don't really know what I was expecting, but this book, I'm not a huge fan of. Like, it has its points, it has a few points. Couldn't fully grasp what he was trying to say. For other people, they might find it wonderful or fantastic. But if you're a person that has that connection to food where it is more spiritual, that more you get that religious experience from these moments, have a look through this, because he is sharing like a whole decades full of stories from what I was reading, full of like little experience of like little nuggets that he was able to like pull, saying, oh, here is about this, here's that. So, yeah. Again, it has its moments, but I'm not huge on it. So, thank you for watching. Happy readings.